just as I was finishing this session, I got a message on Patreon from Mike. Mike is a long-time subscriber, long-time supporter on Patreon throughout this journey, and we have had some epic conversations over the years, man, like probably hundreds of messages exchanged. And he messaged me today, and I thought, you know what, man, I'm just going to make a video about, the ideas that he spoke about in the message. He tells me in the message, and recently he's been training a lot, obviously, and he's been focusing on lunges. And he's been doing a lot of supersetting with lunges, and he found that he started getting some adductor pain from the lunges. And he was like, how are you going with your training? I know you've had adductor pain doing wide stance squats. How's your anterior pelvic tilt going? That's something that I've been, in conversation with him for years now. And so we kind of bouncing ideas back and forth. And then Mike went on to say, he's somebody that is a very quad dominant squatter. So he's a very leg dominant squatter, as opposed to me, who seems to be opposite to that, which is interesting, sharing ideas back and forth. And he goes on to say as well, he's really intrigued by the journey that I'm on right now with the high rep squats to see whether that improves everything, that improves the anterior pelvic tilt and whatnot. Mike, the first thing that I thought about when I read your message was, I don't quite understand why the adductors started hurting you from the lunges. I've never particularly had a problem with lunges causing any sort of discomfort, to be honest with you. But maybe that's because I am completely opposite type of lifter to you. I'm not a quad dominant, and a lot of times when I did any sort of lunges or split squats, I would always wake up the following couple of days and have soreness in my glutes, rarely ever quads. In fact, for me, I feel like the quads are resistant to fatigue most of the time, unless I do something like, what I did today with high rep squats. 20, 30 plus is when I start to feel my quads. That's the only time I feel it. So I don't quite understand the whole adductor issue. I, historically speaking, didn't have a lot of groin pain, adductor issues, until I started going to parallel and wide stance squats. That really seemed to have pissed me off for some reason, and not so much in the wide stance. The wide stance was always cool, but when I went back to narrow, that's when it seemed as though that I lost some range of motion through that groin tissue. So the adductors primarily being the main tissue in the groin, and for some reason they became tight because I was solely focusing on wide stance squats. I wasn't really revisiting deep ATG narrow stance squats. So I'm quite surprised that you have experienced that, but then again, you are a quad dominant squatter, so maybe that's got something to do with it. Now, in terms of my own journey, man, I have noticed a bit of change to my pelvic positioning since I started doing high rep squats. My quads are pumped every day, man. Every single day I feel like they are jacked up, pumped, day to day, basically every 24 hours, sometimes even sooner than 24 hours, depending on the schedule. I get a massive quad pump with just two sets, one with the empty barbell, the next one with 60 kilos. And that has translated to, I feel like, in my mind, what I call easier walking. When you have tight adductors, man, like you can't actually follow through in a normal gait when you walk. So I feel like my walking has been easier because my hips are now longer. My hip flexors are longer. And the other thing which I connected the dots when you asked me this, man, I think for the last 3-4 days, 5 days, whatever I've been doing, the leg drive on the bench press, man, I think that's another key component to why I've been feeling extra good in the hips. When you do leg drive, it is a massive glute contraction, isometric glute contraction, and a quad contraction. So you're essentially opening up the hip flexors, and you're holding that while you're wrestling with the upper body and with the bench press. So I feel like that in itself has also done something to my hips. That in conjunction with the high rep squats have opened me up. It's really bizarre to think that a bench press with leg drive would do something for the hip flexors. But if you think about it, you're basically doing like a glute bridge to a degree when you're doing these bench pressing sets. And so I've been feeling a glute contraction, like a proper glute contraction. I've had a few cramps here and there, and I would kind of let go of that affected glute during the set, which kind of screws up the whole balance and whatnot. But yeah, like severe contractions. So bench press has worked well for me. Hip high rep squats have improved everything. I don't have any pains, man. There's something therapeutic, and I know you've mentioned this a number of times, there's something therapeutic about just pumping the bloody blood. Pumping the bloods. You know, I know you mentioned you're using the ankle weights to do the adductors, you know, isolation exercise, and you're just doing heaps of volume. And I know you said this in the message as well, that RICE, you know, rest, ice, compression, elevation is a bogus, man. Like, I don't believe in that at all. Maybe after an immediate injury, like an ankle roll, cool, you can apply the acronym RICE and just, you know, do that. But basically 30 minutes after that injury, it needs to be all about blood. It needs to be about reperfusion. It needs to be about just bathing that affected area with as much blood as possible. And I think this is kind of what I've been doing in the last couple of months with both squats and upper body. Like, everything is set to 20, man, everything. And I feel amazing, man, absolutely amazing. And the craziest thing is when I went back to the, you know, to the semi-heavy stuff, like with the pig squat routine, I hit 174.5, huge amounts of volume leading up to it. And I felt great. I felt stacked. Nothing hurt. You know, so I think, you know, we need to go back to some of the revisited ideas that, you know, we've had in the past. If anything hurts, dude. Yeah, sure, exercise selection is important, man. Just freaking up the reps, man. Up the reps as much as possible. And I reckon in that, maybe even lunges, even though lunges are kind of heavy already because it's your body weight. But even if you were to do kind of like, you know, super light lunges, which is not possible, right? Because even your own body weight is kind of heavy enough. I know for myself, if I do a set of 20 or 30 split squats, I'm lit up. Like, that is already a huge amount of workload for me. But if you were to do something like single-legged, I don't know, like assisted with a band, single-leg pistol squats or something like that, and you just do like a set of 50, once again, awesome. It gets everything moving, gets everything smooth again, lubricated again, and you start to feel amazing again. So even though I haven't had any concrete evidence in front of me to say that, oh my God, like, yo, this is all kind of working in terms of numbers, internally I'm feeling amazing. I've stayed away from everything heavy, and everything's kind of been rewarding me. And, you know, as you know, like, you follow the journey, like, I've been hard-headed for a long time about, you know, weights and my belief in high frequency, high specificity and all that stuff. And that really beat me down. And it took me a while to let my brain stop with those thoughts and allow a different type of train of thought to come into my mind, which is, okay, let's just freaking aim for 20s and 30s. So I'm kind of sad to hear that you've got pains in the groin, because I know groin pain all too well, and I know you've had groin pain in the past as well. But I'd recommend, man, whatever you decide to do, even if that isolation exercise, I just think, okay, you can play with exercise selection, but I truly think just anything, maybe stay away from the exercise that's hurting you right now, but like anything for high reps will make you feel good. If you need something that is adductor heavy, maybe do like wide stance bodyweight squats or something like that, and do like a set of 50 if you can muster it, and just like explore that. Or do like Cossack squats or something with high reps, or even like goblet squats. You know, take a kettlebell or a dumbbell or whatever, elevate your heels if you need to, and just do like a set of 50 of it. You know, set of 50, because as you know, and I'm you know, what I've experienced is that adductors are very much involved, not just in the wide, but also equally important in the narrow and deep. That's what screwed me over. When I went to wide, I completely forgot about depth, because you can't go deep with wide stance squats. And I thought, I'm training my adductors, this is going to translate. It didn't translate anything. In fact, it got me really, really bad. And so you can train the adductors simply through just increasing your range of motion. So that's another thing I would suggest to you, man. Pleasure, like always, to hear from you, Mike. And, you know, this is kind of like a private video for you. But I appreciate everyone listening, and I'm keen to hear what people reckon as well in terms of adductor strains and wide and narrow and depth and squats and accessories and rep ranges and all that stuff that we all love to kind of think about and talk about. Anyway, I got to get out of here and shower and go to bed, but appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate you, Mike, like always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.